Hello, my friend. Today I will tell you another long-forgotten legend. Close your eyes and let the magic transport you to Middle-earth. Our journey begins in the days before the moon and the sun rose over Middle-earth. Before the world was divided by the great wars of elves and men, there was only the starlight. It fell like silver rain upon the quiet forests and deep rivers, whispering upon the wind as if it carried the songs of forgotten days. And in the heart of those ancient woods, where the shadows grew long and the roots of mighty trees curled around the earth like the fingers of time itself, there dwelt a king. His name was Elu Thingol, the king of the Sindar, the lord of Doriath. And to the elves who followed him, he was the brightest among them, though he had forsaken the light of Aman. For once, long ago, he had seen the undying lands, walked in the glow of the two trees, and stood before the Valar themselves. But a love as strong as the binding of fate had called him back to Middle-earth, where his heart would find its home in the deep shadows of the world. Yet, before the days of his reign, before he built his halls in Menegroth and wove his kingdom from starlight and stone, there was a moment, a single moment, when all paths lay open to him. And that moment began beneath the quiet silver of the stars, the meeting in the twilight. Long had Thingol wandered the forests, searching for something unknown, something unspoken. Though he could not name it, he had led his people far, guiding them with wisdom. Yet a longing had taken root in his heart, a whisper on the wind that he could neither silence nor understand. It was in those days, in the ancient woodlands of Nan Elmoth, that fate would weave its first thread. One evening, as he walked among the towering trees, he heard a song upon the air unlike any melody ever sung by elf or Maia. It was not the high, bright music of the Fëanor, nor the mournful songs of the Teleri. It was deeper, richer, like the very voice of the earth itself. A song that moved like water, like the slow, patient growth of the forests, like the heartbeat of the world. Thingol stopped, his silver hair catching the starlight, his hand resting lightly against the trunk of an ancient beech tree. The airgul was heavy with something unseen, something powerful. And then he saw her. Beneath the boughs of Nan Elmoth, where the shadows lay thick and deep, there stood a woman of unearthly beauty. Her dark hair was crowned with glimmering flowers, her raiment shimmered as though woven from the night sky, and her eyes were like wells of unfathomable depth, filled with wisdom beyond the reckoning of elves. Melian, a Maia of the Blessed Realm, one of the Ainur who had descended into the world. She stood in the quiet shade, her presence like a dream made real. And when she lifted her gaze to Thingol, the stars seemed to pause in their course, for in that moment, time itself slowed and the world fell away. Thingol stepped forward, but his feet no longer felt the earth beneath them. He reached out, though his hands trembled, not with fear, but with a knowing that he was no longer his own. The wind ceased, the trees bent toward them, and the light of the stars wove itself around them like a veil. And there, beneath the eaves of Nan Elmoth, Thingol and Melian gazed into each other's eyes. They did not speak. There were no words to match what passed between them, and for long years he did not move. A kingdom born of love. In the wake of that meeting, Thingol was lost to his people, standing enchanted beneath the stars as time unfurled around him like the endless tide. And Melian, bound by love to this elf lord who had wandered into her path, remained with him, the song of her heart twined with his forever. When at last he returned to his people, they saw that he was changed. His eyes carried the light of something beyond their knowing. His voice held a depth they had never heard before. And beside him walked Melian, a being of power beyond all elven kind, her presence a living enchantment. With her he forged a kingdom, a place of beauty and strength where no darkness could pass. Beneath the hills of Doriath they built Menegroth, the 1,000 caves, a palace hewn into the living rock, its halls vast and filled with the light of many gems. The trees of the forests grew tall and strong under Melian's song. The rivers sang with her wisdom, and the very air shimmered with a magic unlike any seen before in Middle-earth. And so the realm of Doriath was born, and within its borders no shadow could trespass, for Melian wove a girdle of enchantment around it, a power so great that none could pass through its veils. The realm became a refuge, a place of peace while the world beyond fell into strife. A king and a queen of two worlds. Yet even as their kingdom flourished, the days darkened beyond its borders. The Valar had brought ruin upon Morgoth in the Blessed Realm, but the first Dark Lord had fled beyond their reach, settling in the hidden places of Middle-earth. The Elves of Aman, the Noldor, still dwelled in the light of the two trees, unaware of the long shadows that crept across the lands they had left behind. Thingol ruled with wisdom, but his heart, once restless with longing, grew cautious. He had found his love, his realm, and he would not risk it for the fires of war that threatened beyond the mountains. Yet the world was changing. Far away, the Noldor would soon turn their eyes back to Middle-earth. The Silmarils, the greatest of all jewels, burned with the light of Valinor, and their fate would shape the destiny of all. And though the Girdle of Melian held strong, and the forests of Doriath stood untouched by the ruin of war, a shadow had been cast, a whisper in the wind, a thread in the great weaving of fate, pulling ever closer to the halls of Thingol. He did not know it then, but his kingdom, though hidden and strong, would not remain untouched by the doom of the world. For the greatest treasures of Arda would soon come to his halls, and with them the fire of the oath that would burn all. Time moves strangely in Middle-earth, and for the elves it is but a slow river winding ever onward with no end in sight. The stars above do not change, and the trees, whose roots have drunk deep from the earth for thousands of years, whisper only of ancient things. But even the most unchanging of lands must yield to the great weaving of fate. And so it was that after long centuries of peace, a ripple stirred in the fabric of Doriath, small at first, like a wind barely felt upon the skin. Thingol, once lost in love's enchantment, had settled into his throne, his realm vast and secure beneath the watchful care of Melian's unseen power. But a king's heart, even one crowned in love, cannot rest forever. It must weigh the balance of the world, measure the tides of change, and stand ever watchful, lest the peace it guards be swallowed in the growing shadow. And beyond the Girdle of Melian, beyond the quiet glades and rivers that whispered their songs to the stars, the world was stirring. Great things were coming, unknown and unseen, like the first tremors of a storm that is yet to break. And though no wind yet disturbed the trees of Doriath, Thingol felt its presence in the corners of his thoughts, in the hushed murmurs of his court, in the eyes of his people who still watched beyond the borders, wondering what lay in the lands they had long abandoned. And so, one evening, when the sky was clear and the light of the stars lay silver upon the hills, Thingol walked alone upon the stone terraces of Menegroth, his hands clasped behind his back, his thoughts deep and troubled, though he could not say why. The walls of his halls, carved by the dwarves in ages past, glowed faintly with the sheen of gemstones set within their veins, their light mirroring the stars beyond the trees. Beyond, the terraces stood still, their leaves shimmering faintly in the quiet glow of night. And yet, though all was calm, Thingol's mind was restless. A voice, soft as water flowing over smooth stones, drifted through the air, and though it did not startle him, it drew him from his thoughts. He turned, and there, in the dim silver of the night, stood Melian. She moved like the wind upon the grass, soundless, her form wrapped in a flowing gown woven of twilight and shadow, and her dark hair, long as the rivers of the world, caught the faint light like the rippling surface of the Bruinen at dusk. But it was her eyes, those fathomless wells of wisdom and sorrow, that held Thingol fast, as they had done when first he beheld her beneath the boughs of Nan Elmoth. "You are troubled," she said, her voice neither a question nor a command, but a simple truth. Thingol exhaled, slow and measured, as if gathering the strands of his thoughts before weaving them into words. "There is something upon the wind," he murmured at last, his gaze turning again toward the forests beyond, where the shadowed boughs of Doriath met the unseen world beyond. "Something I cannot name. I feel it pressing upon my mind, as though a tide unseen is rising beyond our shores, waiting, watching. Have you not felt it, Melian?" For a long moment she did not speak. She merely watched him, and in her silence was a weight that Thingol knew well, the silence of one who stands upon the threshold of many paths, seeing far beyond what mortal sight allows. And when at last she spoke, it was not to answer his question directly, but to lead his thoughts deeper still. "The world is never still, even when we do not see its movement," she said, stepping closer so that the faint scent of her, like the rain upon dry earth, filled the air between them. "The stars move in their course, though they seem unchanged. The rivers carve new paths through the land, though it happens so slowly that only the trees remember. And in the same way, the fates of elves and men are woven long before their footsteps reach us." Thingol's gaze did not leave hers, but he felt the meaning beneath her words, the weight of something yet unsaid. "Then tell me, Melian," he said softly, his voice quieter now, though no less firm. "What is it that moves beyond our sight? What is it that stirs in the dark corners of the world, beyond the reach of Doriath?" Melian lifted her hand, her fingers brushing lightly against the stone railing, and though her face remained serene, there was a depth to her expression, a thoughtfulness that spoke of things long pondered in the quiet hours of the night. "The Noldor will return," she said at last, and the words fell into the air like the first drop of rain before the coming storm. Thingol's brow furrowed. "The Noldor? But they dwell still in Aman. What cause have they to return?" Melian did not answer at once, for her thoughts were vast, and her sight stretched beyond the confines of time. At last she turned fully to him, and when she spoke, her voice was low and measured, carrying with it the weight of certainty. "Their hearts are restless," she said. "They do not yet know it, but their paths have already turned toward Middle-earth, drawn by something deeper than even they can yet understand. And when they come, they will bring with them both great beauty and great sorrow. Their hands will shape the fate of this world, for good or for ill." Thingol was silent, his mind turning over her words like a craftsman shaping stone, testing their weight and meaning. He had known the Noldor in the elder days, when the world was still young, and their hearts had not yet turned from Aman. They had been proud, bold, and filled with a light that seemed untouchable by sorrow. But now, to hear Melian speak of their return, to hear the certainty in her voice, was to know that something had changed in the great design of the world. "And what would you have me do?" he asked at last, his voice quieter now, as though he too felt the presence of something unseen pressing upon them. Melian stepped closer still, her fingers resting lightly upon his arm. "Be watchful," she murmured. "Do not close your heart, but do not open your gates too freely. The Noldor will come, and they will bring wonders beyond imagining. But not all the wonders of the world are without cost." Thingol closed his eyes for a moment, exhaling slowly as the weight of her words settled upon him. And when he opened them again, he saw the stars above, still shining, still unchanging, though he knew now that they too were moving, slowly but surely, in their great celestial dance. He turned to Melian, and for a moment he wished that he could stand here forever, in the hush of this moment, with the scent of the trees and the river filling the air, with the quiet song of night weaving through the stone halls of Menegroth. But even as he longed for the stillness of this place, he knew that it could not last. The world was changing, and though Doriath was strong, though the Girdle of Melian held firm, there were things even the greatest of enchantments could not keep at bay. And far beyond the forests, beyond the mountains, beyond the darkened seas, a fire had been kindled, a fire that would burn across the ages, and one day its light would reach even here, to the quiet halls beneath the stars. And when it did, nothing would be the same. Deep beneath the shadowed eaves of Doriath, where the roots of ancient trees spread like the veins of the world, and the rivers carved silent paths through stone and soil, the halls of Menegroth lay bathed in the dim glow of countless gemstones. The pillars, carved from living rock, rose like mighty trunks of trees, their surfaces entwined with the delicate shapes of leaves and vines, as if the forest itself had crept inward to claim the stone as its own. Lamps of subtle light flickered in the high arches, their glow mingling with the silver gleam of mithril inlaid in the walls, casting moving shadows that danced like forgotten dreams upon the marble floors. This was a kingdom like no other in Middle-earth, neither built by men with their rough hands, nor raised by the high craft of the Noldor. It was a place shaped by patience, by the slow and measured artistry of the Sindar, aided by the cunning of the dwarves whose chisels had once sung in the depths of the caves, carving halls as smooth as the river-worn stones of the Syrian. And at the heart of it all, beneath a canopy of carved leaves, and between walls glimmering like the vault of the heavens, sat Thingol, his hand resting upon the arm of his throne, his thoughts turning like the unseen currents of a deep and silent sea. For days he had pondered the words of Melian, their weight settling into his mind like stones into the riverbed, sinking ever deeper until they could no longer be ignored. The Noldor would return. The certainty of it was like a whisper threading through his waking hours, a voice he could not silence. And though his people knew nothing of it yet, though they walked the shaded paths of Doriath in peace, though their songs rose as freely as the wind in the high boughs, he knew that the time of stillness would not last. The Noldor. He had not seen them for long ages, since the elder days when the world was still wrapped in twilight, before the sundering of the kindreds, before he had turned his back upon Aman and chosen Middle-earth as his home. In those days, they had been bright and eager, filled with the light of the trees, their hands ever crafting, ever seeking, their hearts restless as the wind upon the sea. And he had thought them noble once, wise once. But even then he had seen something in them that had given him pause, an urgency, a hunger, a need to shape and build and possess that set them apart from the quiet patience of his own people. And now they would return. But why? What could draw them back from the lands where the very light of the Valar shone upon them? His thoughts were disturbed by the soft footfalls of Melian approaching, her presence a quiet ripple in the stillness of the great hall. She did not speak at once, and he did not turn to greet her. He only closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the faint rustle of her gown as it moved, to the hush of the air as it shifted in her wake. And when she did speak, it was not with the voice of one who asks a question, but of one who already knows the answer. "You have not spoken of it to your people," she murmured, her voice low as the sighing of wind through the leaves. Thingol opened his eyes, exhaling slowly, and only then did he turn his gaze upon her. "What would I say?" he replied, his tone measured, deliberate. "That a shadow unseen moves beyond our borders? That a fate long forgotten now stirs, reaching toward us with unseen hands? I do not yet know what form this change will take, nor whether it will come as friend or foe. Should I speak of it before I understand it myself?" Melian studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable, though there was something in her eyes, a depth like the still waters of a hidden pool where reflections shift and change, but never reveal their full truth. "There are things that must be spoken, even before they are understood," she said at last, her voice soft yet filled with the weight of ages. "Silence is no shield against fate, and uncertainty does not delay its coming. It is better that they hear of it from you, their king, rather than from whispers that will surely find their way through the trees." Thingol was silent, his thoughts turning over her words like a craftsman shaping a blade, testing its edge, feeling its weight. And though he did not answer at once, he knew she was right. The Sindar were not blind. They could feel the shift in the wind, the change in the air, the unseen tremor beneath their feet. To leave them in ignorance was to let the unknown fester, to let fear take root where knowledge might bring strength. At length he spoke, his voice quieter now, though no less firm. "Then I shall tell them," he said, his fingers curling slightly against the stone of his throne. "I shall tell them that the world is changing, that those who once walked beneath the light of Aman, now turn their eyes toward Middle-earth once more. But I shall not yet name it as friend or foe. Let them listen, let them watch, but let them not yet take up sword or bow. The time for such things has not yet come." Melian inclined her head, though there was something in her gaze, something distant, as though she saw beyond his words, beyond the halls of Menegroth, beyond even the trees of Doriath. "You may hold back your sword, my love," she murmured, "but others will not. The Noldor do not return in peace." Thingol's eyes narrowed slightly, his gaze sharpening as he searched hers. And in that moment, the air between them grew heavy, as if the very walls of Menegroth were holding their breath. "You know more than you have said," he said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of something unspoken, something deeper. Melian did not look away. "I see only what the threads of the world reveal," she answered, her voice like the slow unfolding of a forgotten truth. "And the threads are tangled with fire and sorrow. The Noldor come not as wandering kin seeking only a home lost to them. They come with a burden of their own making, a weight they cannot cast aside even if they wished to. They come with oaths spoken in haste, with hearts that have turned upon themselves, with a doom that follows like the shadow of the setting sun. Thingol felt a chill pass through him, though no wind stirred the air of Menegroth. He did not speak at once, for he was a king who did not take words lightly, who did not shape his thoughts in haste. He turned his gaze once more toward the great stone pillars, toward the carvings that adorned the halls, the images of leaves and stars, of rivers and trees, of all that had been built in the quiet peace of Doriath. And in the silence that stretched between them, he felt for the first time the edge of something unseen pressing upon his kingdom, something vast, something inevitable. And he knew that the days of stillness were drawing to an end. The halls of Menegroth stood in a hush, like the depths of the forest before a storm. The great stone pillars rising around Thingol like the trunks of ancient trees, their surfaces carved with a delicate tracery of vines and branches, their leaves eternal, untouched by the slow passage of time. The air, cool with the scent of riverstone and the soft, lingering presence of Melian's enchantments, carried the echoes of quiet voices, distant and reverent, as the Sindar moved about their king's dwelling. The great caves, carved by the dwarves in an age that now felt like a half-remembered dream, stretched wide and vast beneath the earth, their passages winding like secret rivers, their walls embedded with pale and glistening gems that captured the light of the lamps and turned it to something softer, something half-illumined, as though the stars themselves had wandered underground to take their rest here in this place of deep stillness. Thingol sat upon his throne, his thoughts unfurling like the slow bloom of a flower in the dark hours before dawn, as Melian's words still lingered in his mind, winding through his thoughts like roots beneath the earth, unseen yet unshakable. The Noldor were coming, not as wandering kin seeking shelter beneath the boughs of old friendships, not as travelers longing for the forgotten lands of their birth, but as those who bore a great burden, a shadow that clung to them even as they moved beneath the open sky. And it was a burden that could not be cast aside, a weight that no kingdom, no enchantment, no wisdom of the Eldar could fully unmake. Thingol exhaled, his fingers tracing absently along the carved armrest of his throne, feeling the grooves worn smooth by the countless years he had sat in this hall, ruling over his people in a peace that had seemed, until now, immutable, eternal, a thing as unchanging as the stars above. And yet he knew that peace, even the deepest, was but a reflection cast upon the water, a moment of stillness before the ripples of fate moved once more. He had known it when the world was young, when the call of Aman had filled the hearts of his kin, when he had chosen to remain in Middle-earth, bound by love to the twilight and the whispering forests, to the land that would become his home, his realm, his fate. And now the tide was turning once more. His thoughts were disturbed by a voice, a low murmur of reverence and deference, as one of his heralds stepped forward from the shadows of the hall, his form slight beneath the high vaulted ceilings, his silver hair gleaming faintly in the lamplight. "My lord," the herald said, bowing low, his voice carrying the weight of caution, of something half-known, half-feared. "Strangers have come to the borders of Doriath. They do not pass beyond the girdle, but they linger. They do not yet speak, but they wait." Thingol lifted his gaze, and for a long moment he did not speak, only turning his thoughts over the words, letting them settle into the quiet depths of his mind. Strangers, No elf of Middle-earth, no man or dwarf, could cross the enchanted borders of Doriath without Melian's will. And yet, to linger beyond the borders, that was the way of those who carried purpose, who had come not merely to seek shelter or wisdom, but to bring something with them, something they could not leave behind. And in that moment, he knew. "The Noldor," he said, his voice low, measured, as though speaking the name aloud made it something more than a shadow upon the wind. The herald hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Yes, my lord." "They are fair, tall as our kin, yet their bearing is unlike our own. There is fire in them, and sorrow, though they do not speak of it. And they are proud, my lord, even as they stand upon the edge of the wood, even as they wait for your word, they do not bow their heads. They are kings in their own right, though they seek the halls of another." Thingol rose slowly from his seat, his gaze turning toward the distant darkness of the stone halls beyond, where the silence stretched unbroken, where the weight of time lay heavy in the carved walls and the long-forgotten echoes of the dwarves' hammers. "Proud," he murmured, tasting the word as though it were a blade held lightly in his palm, waiting to be tested for its sharpness. "The Noldor have always been proud." He turned, stepping down from the throne, his robes shifting with the movement, trailing like the long shadows of trees upon the forest floor. "Let them wait," he said, his voice calm, but there was something deeper within it, something colder, something that lay beneath the surface of his words, like a river flowing deep beneath the earth. "Let them stand at the border of my realm and feel the weight of their journey upon them. Let them see that Doriath is not a land that bows to the coming of kings, nor a realm that bends to the urgency of those who carry the fire of the West within them. If they seek audience—" The herald bowed, his hands clasped before him in quiet obedience, and without another word he turned and departed, his footsteps fading into the stillness of Menegroth, until only Thingol and the hush of the stone halls remained. Melian stepped forward then, her presence a ripple in the silence, her gaze deep and knowing, as if she had already seen the meeting that had yet to come, as if she had already heard the words that would be spoken between the king of Doriath and the exiled sons of the Noldor. "Will you deny them?" she asked, her voice like the wind moving through the trees, soft but unrelenting. Thingol did not answer at once. He only turned his gaze toward the distant archways where the halls stretched onward, where the shadows lay quiet and waiting, where the unknown pressed against the walls of his kingdom like a tide rising unseen beyond the shores. "I will not deny them," he said at last, his voice quiet, but there was a weight to it, a decision that had already been made in the depths of his thoughts, long before the words had been spoken. "But neither will I welcome them blindly. The world is shifting, Melian, and I would know the shape of it before I allow its tide to touch the roots of my realm." Melian watched him for a long moment, her gaze unreadable. And then she turned, her steps carrying her away, her presence fading like mist upon the river. But even as she left, her words lingered in the hush of the great halls, their meaning like a seed planted deep within the soil, waiting to take root. "The Noldor do not come alone, my love," she had said, and though her voice was soft, it had carried the weight of a truth that could not be undone. "They come with fire and with grief, and where there is fire, there is always the risk of ruin." Thingol closed his eyes for a moment, standing in the silence of Menegroth, the air cool around him, the stone walls unyielding beneath his touch. And beyond the borders of Doriath, where the trees stood tall and unmoving, where the unseen barrier of Melian's enchantments stretched like a veil between worlds, the Noldor waited. And though they did not yet know it, they waited upon the threshold of fate itself. The forests of Doriath stood deep and still beneath the weight of the stars, their great boughs stretching wide like the pillars of an ancient temple, their leaves whispering softly in the hush of night. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming night flowers, laced with the distant murmur of hidden streams that wove through the roots of trees old as time itself. There was an enchantment here, unseen yet ever present, like the slow, patient breath of the land itself. A power that flowed not in sudden bursts of fire and fury, but in the quiet, inexorable strength of roots that burrowed deep, of rivers that shaped mountains, of stars that burned for ages beyond the reckoning of the world. And yet, upon the borders of this timeless realm, where the unseen veil of Melian's enchantment stretched like a mist between the seen and the unseen, a restless presence had come, an echo of a world beyond the woods, a ripple in the still waters of Thingol's kingdom. They stood at the edge of the girdle, just beyond the trees, where the shadows deepened, where the air itself seemed to shimmer with an invisible power that barred all but those whom Melian willed to pass. The Noldor, exiled lords of a distant land, wanderers now in Middle-earth, driven not by the easy whims of curiosity, but by an oath that bound them more tightly than iron, by the unrelenting fire of their hearts, by the sorrow they had not yet named, but carried nonetheless, as heavy as the stars that hung above them. Their leader, tall and proud, stood motionless, his gaze fixed upon the unseen barrier that lay before him, his mind turning over the weight of this moment. For though his hands bore no sword in this hour, he knew well that his presence here was itself an unspoken battle. He had led his people through ice and fire, through despair and ruin, through the very edge of the world's undoing. And yet now, here before this unseen threshold, he was made to wait, as though the will of another could dictate the steps of his fate. At last he spoke, and his voice, though measured, carried the weight of pride honed by grief, the strength of one who had lost much and had sworn never to bow again. It is a strange thing to be kept waiting upon the borders of my own kindred, to stand at the threshold of kin, yet be treated as an outsider. I wonder, does the King of Doriath look upon us with suspicion, or merely indifference? Or is it the enchantress, the Maia, who wove this veil of sorcery, who would keep us from passing? His words hung in the air like the tension before a storm, and though he did not move, there was something in his presence, a force unspoken, a fire that burned not in wrath, but in the quiet certainty of one who would not be refused. And at last, from the unseen depths of the wood, a voice answered, "You speak of kin, yet you come unbidden. You call upon the bonds of blood, yet you hold no love in your heart for the one whose kingdom you now seek. Do you think my hall is a place to be entered by right simply because you bear the name of the Eldar? Do you think the trees of Doriath whisper of your coming with joy? No, son of Fëanor, do not mistake silence for welcome." And from the shadows, Thingol stepped forward, his form wreathed in the dim glow of the starlight that filtered through the canopy, his gaze cool and unreadable, though in his eyes there was something that did not yield, something that stood firm as the stone roots of Menegroth itself. The Noldor did not flinch, did not waver, but met his gaze with the same fire that burned with. I did not come here to beg favor, nor to be questioned as though I were a thief upon the road. I come as a lord of my people, as one who has returned to the lands of his birth. And though you may rule this forest, you do not rule the fates of the Eldar. We have endured much, King of Doriath, and we do not stand here as lost children seeking shelter. We stand as those who would shape the world anew, who would take what was stolen from us, who would make Middle-earth great as it was meant. Thingol studied him in silence, and for a long moment the only sound was the faint rustling of the wind in the high branches, the distant call of a night bird, the hush of unseen waters running through the roots of the trees. And then, slowly, the corners of his lips curved, though the smile did not reach his eyes. You speak boldly, son of Fëanor. But tell me, do you shape the world with wisdom or with fire? Do you come to build or to claim? I have seen the Noldor before, long ago when the world was young, and even then I saw in your kind the need to craft, to make, to seek. But I also saw the hunger, the need to possess, to name and bind and take. And now you stand here, far from the light of Aman, far from the grace of the Valar. Tell me, what price was paid for this return? And at those words a shadow passed through the face of the Noldor, brief as the flicker of a candle in the wind, yet there all the same. And in that moment, though his expression did not change, though his stance did not falter, Thingol knew that there was a wound within him, deep and unspoken, a grief not yet healed, a sorrow that had no name but burned all the same. For a long moment the Noldor did not answer, and in that silence Thingol stepped forward, his voice quieter now, though no less certain. You do not wish to speak of it. Very well. But know this, I am not blind to the weight you carry. Whatever it is that brought you here, whatever fire it is that burns in your heart, you will find no refuge in Doriath if that fire seeks only to consume. My realm is not a battlefield, nor a place to be shaped by the will of those who believe themselves the masters of fate. If you would enter my halls, you will do so with open hands, not with a sword hidden behind your back. And at those words, the Noldor exhaled, slow and measured, as though drawing forth some great weight that lay upon his shoulders. And when he spoke again, his voice was quieter, though no less firm. Then let there be truth between us, if not friendship. I do not ask for your favor, nor your aid, nor do I seek to bend your realm to the will of my people. But know this, our war is not yours, and yet, before all is done, the fire we carry may burn even the trees of Doriath. You may wish to keep the world at bay, but the world will not remain silent forever. Thingol inclined his head, a flicker of something unreadable passing through his gaze. Then, let us see what the world will bring. And in that moment, though neither bowed, though neither yielded, something shifted in the air between them. Not peace, nor trust, but the first fragile thread of understanding stretched thin upon the wind. And beyond the trees, beyond the unseen barrier of Melian's enchantment, the fate of Middle-earth moved ever onward, unseen yet unrelenting, as the stars watched in silence above. Beneath the arching boughs of Doriath, where the silver light of the stars wove itself into the shifting canopies, and the soft murmur of hidden streams whispered through moss-laden stones, the halls of Menegroth lay still, holding within them the hush of a kingdom untouched by the ruin of the world beyond. Here, beneath the deep roots of the trees, where stone had been shaped into halls as vast and intricate as the wild lands above, Thingol sat upon his throne, his mind a tide drawn ever deeper into the sea of his own thoughts, caught between the quiet certainty of his realm's strength and the slow, creeping realization that the world beyond was no longer content to remain at its borders. The words of the Noldor lingered within him like the last embers of a dying fire, their heat no longer burning, yet still carrying the memory of flame. They had come not as lost children seeking shelter, nor as wandering lords seeking homage, but as those who carried with them a burden unspoken, a sorrow buried beneath their pride, a grief that had not yet been given a name. And though they had stood before him with hands unarmed, though they had spoken with the courtesy of their kin, he had seen it in their eyes, the weight of something vast and terrible, the shadow of deeds that could not be undone. Melian, ever watchful, ever knowing, stood beside him, her presence like the deep hush of the forest before a storm, a quiet that was not empty, but filled with unseen power. Her dark eyes, fathomless as the endless sky before dawn, rested upon him, as if she could see the shape of his thoughts before they had yet formed into words. And when at last she spoke, it was with the measured cadence of one who had watched the turning of the world and knew well the slow unraveling of fate. "They do not speak of it," she murmured, her voice low as the sigh of the trees. "And yet it clings to them, woven into the very marrow of their being. They carry a fire that is not only of their own making, but one that was kindled in wrath and will burn long before it is spent. And you, my love, must choose whether you will stand apart from that fire, or whether you will let its embers touch even the roots." Thingol turned his gaze to her, studying her as one might study the stars reflected in deep water, seeing not only their distant glow, but also the vast darkness that lay between them. "You speak as if the choice has not already been made," he said at last, his voice quieter now, more measured, as though he too was feeling the first stirrings of something vast and unseen moving beneath the surface of his world. "I have held this realm apart. I have shaped its borders with the will of one who knows the cost of war. I have let no shadow pass beyond the girdle that you—" "And yet you speak as if the world beyond will not be content to remain beyond. Do you see it, Melian? Do you see the shape of what is to come?" For a long moment she did not answer, and the silence stretched between them like the deep hush of the forest in winter, a quiet filled with unseen life, with thoughts unspoken, with paths yet untrodden. And then she exhaled, as though drawing forth a truth from the very air itself, a truth that had long waited to be spoken. "There are things even I cannot see," she admitted, though there was no uncertainty in her voice, only the weight of a wisdom that stretched beyond the borders of time itself. "But I know this: the Noldor do not return to Middle-earth as they once left it. They are not merely exiles seeking to reclaim the lands they abandoned. They have been wounded, Thingol, in ways that no sword can mend, in ways that even the light of Aman cannot undo. There is a shadow upon them, one that follows them even as they stand beneath the open sky, one that whispers in the darkness behind their steps, one that has bound them with words more unbreakable than steel. Thingol frowned, his fingers pressing lightly against the carved armrest of his throne, feeling the smooth, time-worn grooves beneath his hand, as though seeking something solid, something certain amidst the shifting current of Melian's words. "An oath," he murmured at last, his voice barely more than breath. "They have sworn an oath." Melian inclined her head, the faintest trace of sorrow flickering through her gaze like the last light of the evening sun before it is swallowed by the night. "Yes," she said simply. "And such an oath is not lightly spoken, nor lightly set aside. It binds them as the roots of the mountains are bound to the bones of the world. It will lead them to ruin, though they will not see it, not yet. And before their path is ended, they will bring sorrow upon all who stand in their way." Thingol was silent, turning over her words like a smith testing the weight of a blade, feeling its balance, its sharpness, its inevitability. He had known oaths before, had seen them spoken in fire and broken in blood, had watched as words once so easily uttered became chains upon the hands that had sworn them. And now, before him stood a choice that was no choice at all, for the Noldor would not be turned from their path, and though Doriath stood apart, it could not stand forever. "They will come to my halls again," he said at last, his voice quieter now, though no less certain. "And when they do, they will bring with them not only their words, but their grief, their fire, their doom. I would not see my realm bound in the fate of others, Melian. I would not see our people caught in a war that is not our own." Melian's gaze did not waver, and in it there was something deep, something older than the world itself, something that saw not only the edges of fate, but the depths of what lay beyond. "Then you must be wary," she said, her voice softer now, though it carried no less weight. "For even the tallest trees cannot stand untouched when the fire comes." Thingol exhaled slowly, rising from his seat, his gaze turning toward the high arched ceilings of Menegroth, where the light of countless gems gleamed faintly in the dim glow of the lamps, casting shifting patterns upon the stone like the rippling surface of a hidden river. He had built this realm to stand apart, to be a place where the echoes of war could not reach, where the darkness that crept through the world would find no foothold. And yet, even as he stood within the quiet strength of his halls, he knew that the world beyond was not content to remain beyond. The Noldor had returned, and with them, though they did not yet see it, had come the first whisperings of a storm that would one day shake the very foundations of the world. And beyond the borders of Doriath, where the unseen veil of Melian's enchantment still held, where the trees whispered in the hush of night and the rivers ran on in their slow, endless song, the stars shone cold and clear above the distant lands, watching as they had always watched, as they would always watch, as the tide of fate moved ever onward. The halls of Menegroth stood vast and silent, their stone pillars rising like the ancient trunks of trees, their high vaults adorned with the shimmering echoes of starlight captured in the veins of crystal and gems that the dwarves had once wrought into the very bones of the rock. Here, beneath the roots of the world, where the rivers wove their slow and solemn paths through the deep places of the earth, where the echoes of the past seemed to whisper in the still air, Thingol sat in thought, his hands resting lightly upon the carved armrests of his throne, his gaze turned inward toward the shifting currents of his mind. For long had his people dwelt in peace, sheltered within the embrace of the Girdle of Melian, untouched by the strife that had fallen upon the lands beyond, untroubled by the feuds of those who had chosen to make war their inheritance. And yet, for all the strength of the enchantments that held Doriath inviolate, for all the deep wisdom of Melian, who saw further than the sight of elves and men, Thingol felt the first tremors of change stirring in the roots of the world. The Noldor had returned, bearing with them a burden they did not speak of, a sorrow they did not name, a fire that had been kindled long before they had set foot once more upon the shores of Middle-earth. And though they did not yet seek to bring their war to his gates, he knew that the time would come when the shadow that followed them, unshakable, would stretch even to the borders of Doriath. The thought troubled him, though he did not yet know in what shape that trouble would come. He had looked upon the sons of Fëanor, upon their proud and unyielding faces, and had seen in them something that had given him pause, a light that burned too fiercely, a hunger that had not yet been sated, a will that would not be turned aside by mere words or warnings. They had spoken with the courtesy of kings, and yet, beneath their words, he had sensed something deeper, something hidden, something that even they, perhaps, did not fully recognize within themselves. And now, as he sat in the dim glow of his halls, as the torches flickered upon the walls, casting shadows that moved like silent sentinels in the deep, he found his thoughts turning to what lay ahead, to the paths that had not yet been walked, to the choices that had not yet been made. Melian stood beside him, quiet as the wind that moves through the high branches, her presence a stillness that was never empty, but filled with the weight of unseen things, with the slow unfolding of time, with the vast and patient knowledge of one who had watched the turning of the world from before the first rising of the sun and moon. She did not speak at once, but only watched him, her gaze deep and steady, as though she could see the shape of his thoughts as they formed, as though she had already traced the paths of his mind before even he had set foot upon them. And when at last she did speak, her voice was soft, yet it carried within it the quiet certainty of the earth itself, the unshaken truth of the ages. "You have weighed their words," she said, her tone neither questioning nor commanding, but simply knowing. "And yet you do not trust them." Thingol exhaled slowly, the sound barely more than a breath, his fingers tightening against the carved wood beneath them, feeling the smooth, time-worn surface beneath his touch, as though seeking something solid amidst the shifting tide of his thoughts. "Trust is not lightly given," he murmured at last, his voice quiet, measured. "Not when it is asked by those who bear the weight of unspoken oaths, by those who return not as wanderers seeking peace, but as exiles who have left behind something they will not speak of. They do not tell the whole of their tale, Melian. There is something they do not say, something they do not wish to reveal. And if they will not name it, then I must wonder why." Melian inclined her head slightly, her dark eyes holding his, and in them he saw something vast, something that stretched beyond the limits of even his own understanding. "They have sworn an oath," she said at last, her voice as soft as the river's song, yet heavy with the weight of things unseen. "And such an oath is not lightly spoken, nor lightly set aside. It binds them tighter than iron, deeper than the roots of the mountains. It drives them forward, even as they do not see where it will lead. It is not merely a vow of words, but a chain forged in fire, a doom that follows them, even as they seek to escape it." Thingol frowned, his brow furrowing slightly, and he turned his gaze away, looking toward the high vaulted ceiling, where the faint gleam of the embedded gems caught the torchlight, reflecting it in 100 scattered points like distant stars upon the surface of a still lake. "Then they are blind to their own fate," he said, more to himself than to her. "They believe themselves masters of their own destiny, and yet they are bound to something they cannot unmake. They carry the weight of the past, and they do not even see how it shapes them, how it will shape all that they touch." Melian was silent for a long moment, and when she spoke again, her words were soft, yet edged with something that lay beyond mere wisdom, something that touched upon the deeper currents of the world, upon the unseen forces that moved beneath all things. "You cannot hold back the tide forever, Thingol," she murmured, stepping closer, her hand resting lightly upon the carved stone beside him. "You may build walls of stone, weave enchantments into the very air itself, but the world does not stand still. The river does not cease to flow because the rock stands firm. It moves around it, reshapes it, carves it away little by little, until the rock is no more. Even the mightiest tree, no matter how deep its roots, no matter how high its branches reach, will one day fall when the winds of the world shift." Thingol did not answer at once. He only sat in silence, his gaze steady, his thoughts deep. And yet, within him, there was the first stirrings of something unspoken, something that he had not wished to name, but could no longer ignore. The world was moving. The Noldor had returned. The past was not done with them, and in time, he knew, it would not be done with him either. He rose slowly, the fabric of his robes shifting like the movement of water against stone, his stance still strong, still. Yet there was something in his expression now, something that had not been there before. A recognition, not of surrender, but of understanding. "I will not be a part of their war," he said at last, his voice quiet but firm. "I will not let Doriath be drawn into their quarrels, into the shadow that follows them. But I will not close my eyes, nor will I let them think that their fate does not touch upon. If they seek counsel, they will find it. If they bring their fire, they will find that Doriath is not so easily burned." Melian watched him, and though she did not smile, there was something in her gaze, something distant, something knowing. "Then let us see," she said softly. And her words, though simple, carried within them the weight of 1,000 unseen futures. And far beyond the borders of Doriath, where the rivers wound their long, winding paths toward lands yet untouched by the shadow, the stars gleamed cold and watchful, and the world turned ever onward toward a fate that could not be undone. The night lay thick over the forest of Doriath. A vast canopy of stars stretched across the heavens like scattered gemstones upon a mantle of velvet black. The silver light spilled through the towering trees, whose gnarled roots twisted deep into the dark earth, their ancient limbs reaching ever skyward, drinking in the wisdom of ages past. The air, laced with the crisp scent of moss and the murmuring breath of unseen rivers, carried a stillness that was neither empty nor lifeless, but full, like the hush before a storm, like the deep inhalation of the world before it turned its face toward an unknown dawn. Menegroth, the great cavernous city beneath the roots of the forest, lay in quiet repose, its walls of stone glittering with the soft gleam of precious gems, its high arched halls filled with the weight of long-kept secrets, with the whispers of time woven into the very fabric of its being. The lamps, hanging like captured stars, flickered gently, casting elongated shadows upon the polished floors, where the echoes of soft footfalls moved like the distant rhythm of unseen tides. And within the heart of this realm, upon the seat of his forebears, the king of Doriath sat, his mind a labyrinth of thoughts, his heart a still lake reflecting a sky that was ever shifting. Thingol's gaze was fixed upon the carvings that lined the vaulted ceiling, the depictions of trees and rivers, of stars and mountains, the great tapestry of the world etched into the very stone that held the weight of his kingdom. It had been wrought by the hands of the Naugrim, the deep-dwelling craftsmen of the earth, whose hammers had sung in the dark beneath the mountains, shaping rock as though it were clay, giving birth to halls as grand as any raised beneath the open sky. And though these halls stood silent now, though the years had settled upon them like dust upon an old tome, there was something in their stillness that spoke, something that whispered of permanence, of a time before the tides of war and sorrow had begun their slow, creeping advance upon the world. Yet even the most steadfast stone could not hold back the river, for Melian stood at his side, her form wreathed in the soft glow of the lamps, her dark hair falling in quiet waves over her shoulders, her eyes holding within them the depth of the ages, the light of a knowledge that stretched beyond the sight of elves and men alike. She did not speak at once, nor did she press upon him the weight of her wisdom, but only watched, waiting, as though she could already see the path his mind would take, as though she could hear the echoes of words not yet spoken. And when she did speak, her voice was low, measured, as soft as the wind moving through the high branches of the forest, yet filled with the weight of truth. "You have been silent long," she murmured, her gaze not upon him, but upon the distant carvings that adorned the halls, upon the images of things that had once been, of things that had yet to come. "You have turned this matter over in your mind, tracing its edges as a smith traces the shape of a blade, testing its balance, weighing its sharpness. And yet, even now, you do not speak of the choice that lies before you. Tell me, my love, do you hesitate because you fear what may come, or because you already know what must be done, and you do not wish to name it?" Thingol exhaled slowly, his fingers tightening ever so slightly upon the carved armrests of his throne, his gaze dark and unreadable as he turned his thoughts over once more, shaping them, steadying them as one shapes a stone before it is set into the foundation of something greater. "I do not fear them, Melian," he said at last, his voice quiet, though there was no uncertainty within it, only the weight of contemplation, the slow, deliberate unfolding of a decision long in the making. "I do not fear the Noldor, nor do I doubt the strength of our borders, the power of the girdle that you have woven, the sanctity of the land we have built together. And yet, there is something in them that troubles me, something that I cannot name, though I have felt its presence ever since they came upon our borders. It is not merely their pride, nor their fire, nor even the grief that they do not speak of. It is something deeper, something woven into their very being, a shadow upon their hearts that even they cannot escape." Melian inclined her head slightly, her gaze shifting toward him, studying him, though she did not interrupt, did not press upon him the full weight of her own knowing, but only listened, allowing his words to shape themselves fully before she would give voice to her own. "You have said before that they are bound by an oath," Thingol continued, his voice thoughtful, slow, as though he were feeling his way through the darkness of his own mind, seeking something unseen. "And I have seen the weight of it in their eyes, in the way they carry themselves, in the fire that smolders just beneath the surface of their words. I have seen it in their silence, in the things they do not say, in the truths they do not speak. But what is this oath, Melian? What is it that they have bound themselves to, that follows them like the shadow of the setting sun, that clings to them even as they move forward with such certainty? For a long moment she did not answer, only watching him as though weighing the moment, as though considering the shape of time itself before she would give voice to the truth that had long remained unspoken. And when she did speak, it was with the measured cadence of one who has seen beyond the veil, who knows the workings of fate not as a thing of mere chance, but as a great and unyielding design woven into the very fabric of the world. "They have sworn upon the Silmarils," she said at last, her voice barely more than breath, yet carrying within it the weight of doom itself. "They have sworn by the light of those accursed jewels, by the fire that Fëanor wrought in the depths of his craft, by the theft that set all this sorrow into motion. And they have sworn to reclaim them at any cost, against any who would stand in their way, whether friend or foe, whether innocent or guilty, whether kin or stranger. It is an oath that does not know mercy, an oath that does not yield, an oath that binds them in a way that no mere vow of words could ever do. And because of it, they will bring war to Middle-earth, whether they will it or not, whether they seek it or not, for it is already written in the doom they have chosen for themselves." Thingol was silent, his breath slow, measured, as the truth of her words settled upon him, as the full weight of what had been set into motion unfurled before his mind's eye. And he knew then, beyond any doubt, that the peace of Doriath would not last forever. The shadow that had been cast upon the Noldor would one day reach even these halls, no matter how strong the walls, no matter how deep the roots, no matter how great the enchantments that guard him. "The Silmarils," he murmured at last, tasting the name as though it were something bitter upon his tongue. "Then they will know no peace until they have been reclaimed." Melian's gaze did not waver, and in her silence he saw the truth of it reflected back at him. The Noldor were not merely exiles returning to a land they had once forsaken. They were bearers of doom, bound to a fate they could not escape. And in the deep halls of Menegroth, beneath the quiet watch of the trees, the first threads of fate were beginning to tighten, drawing ever closer to the day when no enchantment, no wisdom, no power in Middle-earth would be able to hold back the tide of what was to come. Deep within the silent halls of Menegroth, where the walls gleamed with the light of 1,000 gems embedded in the living stone, where the carved pillars rose like the ancient trunks of the forests above, Thingol sat in quiet contemplation, his thoughts vast and unrelenting as the great rivers that carved their slow, inexorable paths through the lands of Middle-earth. The air here was heavy, heavy with time, with memory, with the whispers of those who had walked these halls before him, their footsteps now faded echoes lost in the stillness of stone. The glow of the torches, flickering within silver sconces, sent long shadows spilling across the mosaic floors, twisting and shifting like forgotten dreams. And the hush that filled the chamber was like the deep breath before the breaking of a storm. His mind lingered on the name that Melian had spoken, the word that had turned his unease into certainty, the name that had carried doom upon its very syllables. Silmaril. Even the sound of it felt heavy, as though it were not merely a jewel but something greater, something vast and unyielding, a thing not merely of light but of fire, not merely of beauty but of fate. And as he sat there, his fingers absently tracing the carved armrest of his throne, His thoughts turned over the weight of what this meant, not only for the Noldor, but for himself, for his people, for the land that he had so long sought to keep inviolate from the wars and griefs of the world beyond. Melian had spoken of the oath, of the unbreakable vow that bound the sons of Fëanor to their terrible fate, of the fire that burned within them, consuming them even as they sought to reclaim what had been stolen from them. It was not a hunger for power that drove them, nor even greed, but something deeper, something far more perilous, a compulsion, a need that could not be cast aside, a promise forged in fire and blood that would drag them forward until either they had fulfilled it or it had destroyed them utterly. And in that moment Thingol saw with a clarity that struck him like the sudden stroke of a blade, that the fate of the Silmarils was not merely the fate of the Noldor, but of all who dwelt in Middle-earth, that the fire they carried would not merely consume them, but all who stood near them, and that no walls, no borders, no enchantments, no wisdom, not even the deep and ancient magic of Melian herself, could hold back forever the tide that had been set into motion. Melian stood beside him, her presence still and watchful, the soft glow of the lamps catching in the dark waves of her hair, her eyes deep as the spaces between the stars. She did not speak at once, but only watched him, waiting, as though she could already see the shape of his thoughts before he had yet found the words to give them form. And when at last she did speak, her voice was quiet, measured, yet filled with the weight of an understanding that stretched beyond the reach of time itself. "The Silmarils are not merely jewels," she murmured, her gaze distant as though she were not looking at the stone walls of Menegroth, but beyond them, through them, into the unseen vastness of what was to come. "They are not merely treasures of great worth, nor even mere works of craft, no matter how fair, no matter how wondrous. They are light, Thingol. They are the very light of Aman, caught and bound, shaped and made into form by the hands of Fëanor. But that light was not meant to be contained, not meant to be owned, not meant to be possessed by any one hand, nor held by any one heart. And because of this, they are cursed, not by the will of the Valar, but by the nature of the world itself. That which seeks to hold the light as its own will be undone by it. That which seeks to claim what is beyond claiming will find only sorrow. And the oath that binds the Noldor is but an echo of this truth, a reflection of the doom that was wrought the moment Fëanor set his hand to their making. Thingol exhaled slowly, feeling the truth of her words settled into him like roots sinking deep into the earth, like the slow spread of shadow as the sun sets beyond the western rim of the world. "And yet," he said, his voice quieter now, though no less firm, "the Noldor will not turn from their path. They will not abandon their oath, no matter the cost. They will burn the world before they forsake what they have sworn to reclaim." Melian's gaze did not waver, and though there was no sorrow upon her face, there was something deeper still, something vast and knowing, something that saw not only the sorrow of what was, but the sorrow of what must be. "Yes," she said simply, "and they will bring war, not today, not tomorrow, not here, not now. But it will come as surely as the stars will rise, as surely as the rivers will carve their way through the mountains. It is already written in the fabric of the world, woven into the very thread of what must be. And when that day comes, no one will stand untouched by it, not even Doriath." Thingol was silent for a long moment, his thoughts a great and shifting tide, turning over every path, every choice, every road that had led him here, every road that stretched out before him, unseen, yet inevitable. And though he had long held his kingdom apart from the world beyond, though he had sought to weave a realm untouched by the strife of others, though he had believed that the strength of Melian's power could keep all sorrows at bay, he knew now, in the deep silence of his own heart, that the time of isolation was drawing to an end. He rose slowly from his seat, the fabric of his robe shifting like the movement of water against stone, his hands resting at his sides, strong and steady, though his thoughts were anything but. And when he turned his gaze to Melian, his voice, though quiet, carried within it the weight of a choice that had already been made, a path that had already been set.
"Then let us be ready," he said, his words not a surrender, but a resolution, not a yielding to fate, but a recognition of its course. "Let us watch and wait, and hold the borders of our realm as we have always done. Let the world burn, if it must. Let the Noldor walk the path they have chosen. Let the oath drive them where it will. But Doriath will not fall. Our kingdom will not be undone by the choices of others. If the fire must come, then let it come. But when it does, it will find that we are not so easily consumed." Melian inclined her head slightly, her expression unreadable. And for a long moment there was only silence between them. The hush of the great hall stretching wide and deep, the weight of time pressing heavy upon the stone. And though the stars still gleamed beyond the branches of the forest, though the rivers still ran their endless course, though the wind still moved through the high canopies as they always had, the world had already begun to change. Far beyond the borders of Doriath, beyond the enchanted veil that held back the step of all who were unwelcome, beyond the quiet rivers and the deep woods, the tide of fate was rising, slow yet unrelenting, vast yet unseen. And though the halls of Menegroth still stood still, shone with the gleam of their hidden